attention may be focused on the race to succeed Jeremy Corbyn as Labour leader, but 5 candidates are now through to the final stage of the contest to become the party's new deputy leader. Rosanna Allen-Khan, Ian Murray, Richard Bergen and the frontrunner Angela Rayner are all through, along with the shadow Women and Equalities Secretary Dawn Butler. And I'm pleased to say she joins us now in the studio. Thank you very much for being in the studio with us this morning. I know you've got a very busy schedule with all the hustings and everything.
It is, all over the country.
So what's your pitch then to be deputy leader?
Well, I have a strategy and a plan, and it's called the CORED strategy, C-O-R-E-D, campaign, organise, recruit, educate and D for discipline, which is a new one that I added as I've been going around the country. I am the most experienced candidate. I've served under 2 Labour Prime Ministers and in Jeremy Corbyn's shadow cabinet, and I am the unity candidate. I've got the temperament to work with everybody, and I've worked with everybody, all the MPs in Parliament, and right now we need somebody who's going to bring the whole party together, and I'm that person.
I mean, a lot of this is trying to work out what went wrong last time. Labour's worst defeat at an election since 1935. Why do you think Labour did so badly at the last election?
So it was a devastating defeat, but there's 2 things. There's an autopsy that's currently going on as to why we lost. There are a number of MPs and trade unions who are getting together to look at the detail of that. But while we're doing that, it shouldn't stop us from having a strategy to win. And so what I'm doing is ensuring that we implement my strategy to win.
But so it'll run, you have to work out why you lost, don't you?
It will run in parallel. But we know the reasons why we lost. And there are many reasons. But whilst they're working that out, this strategy of campaigning, organising, recruiting, educating and the discipline in the party is a structure that will ensure that we prepare for power and we're on the road to winning. And that is vital. And in fact, as a deputy leader, that would be my focus. So as I say, the autopsy will take time, but whilst they're taking time, it shouldn't stop us from preparing to win at the next general election.
So why do you think Labour lost the election then?
Well, we have to campaign all year round. We have to have community campaigning on the ground. We weren't doing that. We were putting in organisers, but very late in areas. And that needs to change. And from day one, as me as the deputy leader, I will ensure that that does change. We need to be better organised. We need to have message discipline. We need to have technology that works. There's a lot of technology that didn't work. We need to have better structure. We need to have a strategy to win. I will ensure that all of that is implemented under my watch.
So the campaign was to blame, not the message, in your view?
Oh, there's a number of things. It's not just the campaign. What I'm saying is we need to campaign all year round. We haven't been doing that effectively as a Labour Party. The councillors have been in some areas, and we need to campaign and make sure that we have joined up campaigning. And that is vital if we are going to win. That is vital if we are going to build trust in communities. And that's exactly what I will implement on day one of me becoming deputy leader.
Other than campaigning all year round, why do you think Labour lost? Because it can't just be that. I mean, it was the worst defeat since 1935.
Oh, there are a number of elements, a number of reasons. And as I've said, Sophie, there will be this autopsy that's taking place. But whilst that's happening, what we need to do, and what my role is as deputy leader is to ensure that we have a structure and a strategy in place. We don't have that. We didn't have a structure in place. We didn't have a proper strategy in place. And the messaging of delivering our manifesto was too complex and it was just too detailed and there was too much of it. I call it the Toby Carvery of the manifesto. There was just too much on the plate and we have to take our time to explain it in bite-sized chunks. And the next 3 to 5 years gives us an opportunity to allow that to happen. And that's why the CORED strategy is key to Labour winning at the next election and for us building trust.
Is Jeremy Corbyn a problem?
As I say, this isn't about blame or dissecting all of the aspects of why we lost. We lost, and it was a devastating loss. So what we need to do now is prepare to win and prepare for power. Jeremy Corbyn is now stepping down as a leader of the Labour Party, so he will no longer be brought up on the doorstep. So what we need to do now is focus, and the laser focus is winning. You know, I'm a winner and I want to focus on winning, and that's why the CORED strategy is absolutely key to Labour winning and getting back into power and getting into number 10. As I said, I've served under 2 Labour Prime Ministers and I want to serve under another.
OK. Now, one of the things that the next deputy leader of the Labour Party will have to focus on is anti-Semitism and the allegations of Labour's handling of anti-Semitism that dogged you ahead of the last election. Now, the Board of Deputies of British Jews have asked all the leadership and deputy leadership candidates to sign up to these 10 pledges. You're one of only 2 candidates not to do that. Why haven't you?
Because there are certain things that needs to happen. So we're being investigated by the EHRC, the Equality of Human Rights Commission. It's not something to be proud of, but we are being investigated.
The only other party to investigate was the BNP.
BNP, so it's nothing to be proud of. But at the end of the day, we have committed, and I've said that what we need to do is ensure that all of the recommendations from that investigation gets implemented. So we're going to do that first. And then I've written to the Board of Deputies in order to have a meeting with them to discuss a few of the recommendations.
Are there any that you have a problem with? Because reading them, it feels as if these are things that people shouldn't necessarily have a problem with.
Yeah, no. There was a couple of things which you haven't got all the detail on there, so you've only got the headline facts. But I agree that we need to have an independent disciplinary process. But part of what the Board of Deputies has asked for is to see some of the disciplinary cases. Now, if you've got an independent process, you then can't give your disciplinary cases to an outside body that's not affiliated to the Labour Party. That's against the GDPR. So I've asked to sit down with the Board of Deputies so that we can have a discussion about that. And engage with community via main Jewish groups. We also have to engage with everybody. It's not for me to tell the Jewish community what they want to do. We need to engage with all of the Jewish communities. So absolutely, the Board of Deputies are vital and key. So is Jewish Labour Movement, vital and key. So are the other Jewish Labour members and the Jewish community as a whole. At the end of the day, the Labour Party didn't handle it right. At the end of the day, we were slow in reacting and slow in enacting. And, you know, we all should take responsibility for that. And what we need to make sure that we do is that we get it right.
I mean, some people
this is too important.
That criticism at you, that you're being too slow to react to what the Jewish community is asking for. I mean, do you think that you know better?
Oh, no, absolutely. It's not about knowing better. I mean, at the end of the day, we have to have a procedure and a process that works for everyone, that doesn't just work for the Jewish community, but it works for the black community, it works for women, it works for disabled people,
but there's a specific
it works for the LGBTQIA+
that the Jewish community feel with the Labour Party, isn't there? Do you accept that?
Oh,
it's a specific issue with the Jewish community.
So there's an issue, and we have to resolve it, and we have to get it right. And getting it right means that we have to do it in a comprehensive way that works for everyone. There's no hierarchy of discrimination, so we have to deal with it and we have to make sure it's right. And that's why the EHRC report that the Board of Deputies has said that we must commit to implementing is vital. We haven't seen that report yet. It's supposed to have been published in January. It hasn't been published. Hopefully, it'll be published this month. We get that, we implement that, we sit down with the Board of Deputies, we have a discussion with them, we sit down with JLM, we have a discussion with them, and we get this right. The most important thing that we get this right. We don't have a blame game. That doesn't help the situation. It doesn't help to get it right. It's too important for me to just tick a box or whatever. We have to get this right. It's vital.
In your statement, when you were explaining why you didn't want to sign up to these pledges, you were saying that you endure racism on a daily basis, so you know what it feels like. What do you mean by that?
Oh, my goodness. Well, all you have to do is scroll through my Twitter feed and you will see the racism, you will see the misogyny. You know, as a black woman, I suffer, you know, people attacking me because I'm a woman, people attacking me because I'm black, people attacking me because I have a voice and I use my voice and my platform. And, you know, and people have said, you know, well, Dawn, you have to have a thick skin. Well, I don't want anybody to come into politics and needing to have a thick skin. I want people to be respected. People talk about the language of tolerance. I don't want to be tolerated. Accept me for who I am as a black woman. Accept me for the fact that, yes, I'm standing to be deputy leader. It's not an easy thing for me to do. It's not an easy thing for me to put myself out there as a visible minority, but I think it's important if I'm going to ensure that other people can come up behind me and be recognised for who they are and the skills that they bring to the table. And it's important that, you know, I fight for various issues, not just that affects my community, like the Windrush scandal and the charter flight that's, you know, currently due to leave in 5 days' time, where I have a constituent on that flight, which is a disgrace of this government. But, you know, I'm going to hold this government to account for all of their hostile environment and racism, but I'll also hold them to account on everything else to do with the country and making the country better for working class people in the country, for women in the country, for disabled people, for climate change. I'm going to hold this government to account, and as deputy leader, it gives me a platform to do that even greater.
We've seen a couple of cases of black female MPs being mixed up.
I'm not Marsha. They're going to take it over. I'm not Florence.
What was your reaction when you saw that?
Well, it's quite exhausting because it happens regularly. So Marsha and I get confused quite often. Sometimes we laugh about it, but sometimes it's important that we bring it up and we say, look, at the end of the day, you know, it's been over, you know, I've been in politics for a number of years now. I first came in 2015. And the fact that people are still getting me confused with other MPs is actually a disgrace. And it's not about making a mistake, it's about making an effort. So how much are you going to make an effort to ensure that you can distinguish one black female MP from another black female MP? And if you've got nobody in the newsroom who can identify us individually, then find somebody who can and make sure your newsroom is more diverse, or you have people who can identify us differently. And it's important for everybody that I feel like a sense of responsibility for all of the young African Caribbean women coming behind me. But I also feel a sense of responsibility for all of the young black men who just get tagged with one, you know, you are a black man and you fit the description. Let's get the description right and let's stop. We are hyper visible of black people, but then as human beings, we are invisible, and that needs to change.
OK. I'm keen to ask you, just ending the interview, about John Bercow. Now, he's been accused of bullying staff members, including by the former Black Rod, David Leakey, who said he brutalised people who worked for him. Important to say, of course, John Bercow denies these allegations. Now, there are reports that Jeremy Corbyn is nominating him for a peerage. Do you think John Bercow should be given a peerage?
Well, I think it is the norm that the Speaker of the House has always given a peerage. So I think the first question for me is, why hasn't he been given a peerage?
Well, if these bullying allegations are still going
from the
around.
Conservatives. So, well, they haven't said that's the reason why they haven't given him a peerage. And I would like to know why is the reason why he wasn't given a peerage. I suspect is actually to do with Brexit rather than anything else. The other thing is due process has to happen. So if you accuse somebody of bullying, there needs to be due process. I'm a trade union activist. I am very forceful in terms of making sure that due process is followed. So if John Bercow has been accused of bullying, then there needs to be due process. And has he been found guilty, or is it just an accusation? And I think those are the things that we have to go through. Okay. But really do need to ask the Conservative, why is it that you haven't, like everybody else, ensured that the Speaker of the House is given a peerage?
Okay.
Otherwise, I think that's a form of bullying too.
Your colleague Diane Abbott sent and deleted a tweet this week that's received quite a lot of attention. I just want to have a quick look at what she said. She said the allegations about the bullying come from former parliamentary official David Leakey. He had been a lieutenant general who served in Germany, Northern Ireland and Bosnia, but claims he was bullied, i.e. intimidated and coerced by John Bercow. Unlikely. Is that an acceptable view?
I think really you'd have to ask Diane about her tweet. This is the first time that I'm seeing it. I haven't read it before. Okay. So it's the first time that I'm reading it. But really, I think Diane needs to come on and just explain what she means. She may have a good reason for writing that. I don't know.
But is it unlikely that someone could be bullied if they had been in the army? I mean, surely anyone can be bullied.
Anybody can be bullied at any time. I was bullied at work once, and you think that you can't be bullied, and then you're bullied, and that's why I think trade unions are vital in regards to taking on bullies in the workplace, and that's why I'm committed to the trade union movement. But as I say, you'd have to ask Diana about that.
OK, thank you very much, Dawn Butler.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you very much for coming on the programme today and setting up your pitch to be the Deputy Leader of the Labour Party.
It's a pleasure.